The first thing Claire noticed wasn't the silence. It was the smell. That faint trace of another woman's perfume on Mark's shirt. Jasmine. Sweet, sharp, foreign. Not hers. She froze, laundry basket clutched against her hip, eyes locked on the pale blue collar she'd ironed just yesterday morning. The scent was unmistakable. It wasn't detergent. It wasn't office air. It was human. It was her. Claire inhaled again, this time with trembling hands, as if proof could be found in scent alone. Her throat tightened. It felt absurd, like something out of a cheap drama, sniffing shirts, hunting ghosts. But when you spent 25 years in someone's orbit, you learn the language of their absences. She sat down on the edge of the bed. Her pulse thudded in her ears. Mark's laughter drifted faintly from downstairs, deep, easy, practiced. He was on a call. His new boss had promoted him last month to executive partner, though Claire always thought the title sounded performative, like something made to impress rather than describe. Lately, he'd been working late, talking faster, smiling at his phone more often. She told herself not to spiral. Mark was loyal. He was. Still, when he came upstairs, she looked up too quickly. "Hey," he said, brushing a kiss across her temple. "You okay? You look pale." "Just tired," she said. And it wasn't a lie, only incomplete. That night, she lay awake beside him, staring at the faint outline of his back in the moonlight. Every breath he took felt foreign now, every exhale whispering, "You don't know me anymore." 2 months later, she met someone else. His name was Nathan Black, the kind of man who made rooms go quiet when he entered. Her boss, charismatic, razor-sharp, impossible to read. He ran meetings like performances, drawing people with that unnerving confidence that made every word sound like gospel. Claire had joined his firm after the kids left for college. She'd needed something of her own, something beyond Mark's routines, beyond the empty echo of a too-quiet house. Nathan noticed her right away. Compliments that lingered too long, questions that felt personal. At first, she brushed it off. She wasn't that kind of woman. But attention like his felt like sunlight after years in the dark. "You're wasted in admin work," Nathan said one evening, leaning on her desk while everyone else had gone home. "You've got this calm intelligence, this grace. People like that don't come around often." It should have sounded professional. It didn't. She laughed awkwardly, heart hammering. "I think you're giving me too much credit." He smiled, slow, deliberate. "No, Claire, I think I've been giving you too little." The air between them tightened. That night, she went home to Mark, who was half watching a game, and she saw him as if through fog. His kindness, his predictability, it all suddenly felt dull, like wallpaper you stopped noticing years ago. And just like that, Nathan began filling the spaces Mark had left unguarded. Texts, late-night calls, subtle glances during meetings. By the time the first kiss happened, quick, stolen, electric, she was already gone. Leaving Mark wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. He didn't shout, didn't beg, just sat there in his old armchair, hands gripping his knees like a man steadying himself in a storm. "Is there someone else?" he asked, voice barely audible. Claire hesitated. "Yes." Mark nodded once. Just once. Then he whispered, "I thought so." That was it. The silence afterward was worse than any argument. She packed a small suitcase, the same way she'd packed lunches for their kids. Precise, practiced, necessary. When she left, she didn't look back. Nathan had promised everything: freedom, excitement, passion. He said he admired her courage, that they were meant to find each other. The words tasted like champagne and adrenaline. For a while, it was euphoric. Dinners with expensive wine. Weekend trips where he made her laugh until she cried. He made her feel seen, desirable, alive. But the small things began to crack first. He'd canceled dinners last minute, claiming investor meetings. His phone was always face down. Once, she caught a glimpse of another woman's name lighting up his screen, Amelia, followed by a quick swipe to silence the call. When she asked, his tone changed. "Claire," he said, almost amused, "don't tell me you're jealous." She'd laughed it off, but something inside her began to sink. The truth came quietly. A month later, While waiting in his office for lunch, she noticed his laptop open. A Slack window glowed with unread messages. One name caught her eye, Lydia M. followed by a heart emoji. She shouldn't have clicked. She did. The screen filled with flirtations, hotel reservations, messages that mirrored Hayes word for word. You make me feel alive. You're not like the others. Soon, baby, soon. Claire's stomach dropped. The knock came before she could close the window. Nathan stepped in, coffee in hand, eyes immediately narrowing at the screen. What are you doing? Her throat closed. Who's Lydia? He sighed, almost theatrically, setting the cup down. Claire, you weren't supposed to see that. Supposed to? Her voice broke on the word. Nathan leaned back, unbothered. Look, I didn't lie. I care about you. But I'm not built for exclusivity. I thought you understood that. The room blurred. Her hands trembled as she backed away from the desk. You told me you loved me. He tilted his head. I meant it, in the moment. That phrase cut deeper than any confession could have. She walked out, not dramatically, not shouting, just walked. Because when something breaks that completely, there's no need for spectacle. Outside, the sky was pouring. She didn't have an umbrella. She didn't care. By the time she reached her car, her reflection in the rain-streaked window looked like a stranger's. That night, she called Mark. Not to apologize. Not at first. Just to hear his voice. He answered on the second ring. Clay. For a moment, she couldn't speak. The sound of his steady, familiar tone broke something inside her. I made a mistake, she whispered. He didn't respond right away. Then, softly, I know. Do you hate me? I don't think I could. His voice cracked, just slightly, but I don't know if I can forgive you either. The silence that followed was heavier than rain. She wanted to tell him everything, that she'd been lonely, that she thought love could be resurrected in someone else's arms, that she hadn't meant to destroy what they built. But none of it would matter now. When he finally said goodbye, it wasn't angry. It was final, and that, somehow, hurt the most. In the weeks that followed, Claire drifted through her new apartment like a ghost. She kept expecting Nathan to call, to apologize, to say she was different after all. He didn't. Every morning, she'd scroll through social media, searching for signs of him. There he was, smiling, traveling, dining, with women who looked frighteningly similar to her. Elegant, mid-40s, polished, replaceable. Each photo was a knife she twisted herself. At night, she replayed every decision, every word she'd said to Mark in that final conversation. Sometimes she dreamed of their old house, the worn kitchen counter, the warmth of his laughter, the way his hand always found Hayes in a crowd. She had traded safety for passion, certainty for illusion, and now she had neither. But somewhere, buried beneath the guilt and shame, a small ember of anger began to burn, not at Nathan, but at herself, because deep down, she realized she hadn't been betrayed by him. She had betrayed herself first. The world after betrayal is quiet, not peaceful, never that, just muted. The refrigerator hums louder, footsteps echo sharper. Every sound becomes a reminder that the life you built is still moving without you in it. Claire learned that in the weeks after Nathan, she'd stopped going to work. The thought of walking into that office, his office, made her physically ill. The scent of his cologne seemed to follow her anyway, lingering on old blouses, in the back seat of her car. Sometimes, she caught herself whispering his name under her breath, not out of longing but disbelief. How could someone who made her feel so alive now make her feel so erased? Her therapist, recommended by her daughter, called it emotional displacement. Claire called it punishment. One morning, she saw Nathan again. It wasn't planned. She'd gone downtown to return her office badge, trying to finally sever the last tie. He was there in the lobby, laughing with someone young, maybe mid-20s, long legs, a dress too expensive for an intern. Their hands brushed. That small, electric touch, the same way he'd once touched her. Nathan saw her then. His expression barely flickered. Claire, he said, polite, distant. You look good. Her pulse thundered. Do I? He gave a half smile. Always did. The other woman looked confused, glancing between them. Claire felt like a ghost intruding on a life that had already replaced her. "Goodbye, Nathan," she said softly. He nodded once, already half turned away. The dismissal was almost elegant in its cruelty. That night, she drove back to the old neighborhood. Mark's car was in the driveway. The porch light was still the same soft amber hue she'd always loved. Through the window, she saw him, folding laundry, glasses perched on his nose, the rhythm of routine unbroken. For a long time, she just watched. The simplicity of it hurt more than anything else. The sight of him existing, calm, steady, alive, without her, she almost knocked. Almost. But what would she say? I made a mistake? He already knew that. I miss you? That wasn't fair. He deserved peace, not her penance. Instead, she left a letter in the mailbox. Mark, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect you to read this. I just need you to know that leaving you wasn't about love. It was about fear. I was afraid that the life we built had already ended quietly while we weren't looking. I mistook stillness for death. And when Nathan came along, promising motion in heat and danger, I ran toward it because it felt like proof I was still alive. But all he gave me was noise. You were the peace I mistook for emptiness. If there's any justice in the world, you'll forget me quickly. But I'll spend the rest of my life remembering the sound of you breathing next to me in the dark and realizing that was what safety sounded like. Claire! She dropped the envelope and drove off before she could change her mind. The night swallowed her car in silence. The following weeks were slow recovery. She started volunteering at a community kitchen. It wasn't glamorous, but it filled her days with something honest. The people there didn't know her story. To them, she was just Claire, the woman who smiled too easily and cut vegetables with practiced care. Sometimes she thought about dating again, but the idea felt distant, almost abstract. She didn't trust her heart yet. Maybe she never would. But one evening, while washing dishes after closing, she heard a familiar voice behind her. Need a hand? She turned. Mark stood there, hands in his jacket pockets, expression unreadable. Her breath caught. How did you? I got your letter, he said quietly. Took me a few days to decide if I should come. She wiped her hands on a towel, unsure whether to step closer or retreat. You shouldn't have. Probably not, he said. But I did. The silence that followed was fragile, almost holy. I'm not here for reconciliation, Mark added. I just wanted to see if you're okay. I'm trying to be, she said. He nodded, eyes softening. Good. For a long moment, they stood in the hum of fluorescent light, surrounded by the smell of soap and onions and something old but familiar, understanding. I read your letter, he continued. It hurt, but it was honest, more than I expected. Claire's voice trembled. I meant every word. I know. He reached into his coat, pulled out something, a small envelope. This is for you. She hesitated before taking it. What is it? Closure, maybe. He gave a faint smile. Goodbye, Claire. Then he left. She didn't open it until she got home. Inside was a single sheet of paper. His handwriting, steady, deliberate. Claire, you were right. Stillness isn't death. It's faith. I loved you through quiet seasons and chaos alike. But love doesn't always survive its own storm. I forgive you, not because you asked for it, but because I need to. I want to live again, and forgiveness is the only way forward. Take care of yourself. Mark. Her tears blurred the ink until the words looked like watercolor. For the first time in months, she allowed herself to cry, not out of guilt, but out of release. She folded the letter gently and placed it in her nightstand drawer beside the wedding ring she still couldn't throw away. Months passed. Spring came early that year. Claire walked every morning through the park, the same path she and Mark used to take when the kids were small. The air smelled of cut grass and new beginnings. Sometimes she saw couples, hand brushing, laughter spilling into sunlight, and she didn't ache anymore. She smiled, because she finally understood something Nathan never could. Love isn't about conquest or adrenaline or winning. It's about staying, choosing, even when it's quiet. One morning, As she paused by the lake, she noticed someone sitting on a nearby bench, reading, a familiar tilt to his posture. Mark, alone, calm. Their eyes met briefly across the distance. He smiled, not the way he used to, but soft, unguarded. Claire smiled back. Neither moved. Neither needed to. Some connections, once severed, are too fragile to be remade, but strong enough to never fully die. She turned and kept walking, the sun warm on her face. For the first time, she felt the stillness inside her and didn't mistake it for emptiness. It was peace, and that, she realized, was enough,